which is, so I'm Lillian, I'm bringing you in as a panelist now, so I've just upgraded you. Very exciting. But she's worked for so many big name brands as well. So I feel like you've worked at some really
Hi.
major names and also a kind of more boutique style stuff as well. So it will be fascinating to get your career history. But first, let's start with an introduction. So tell us, who are you, what do you do, and what is Wolf and Badger as well?
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me. And sounds like some great sessions so far. My name is Lillian. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Wolf and Badger. If you haven't heard of Wolf and Badger before, it's this incredible destination for independent designers, small brands that could be in fashion, in homeware, in jewelry. Recently started doing maternity and pet stuff as well. And it's a place where everything is high quality, unique, has some element of ethical or sustainable production about it. And it's just a really place that we really foster independent designers and want to make them successful and help them sell to the world. So a really incredible mission. I've been there for a few years now, really operating that business and helping them grow.
Amazing.
Um, within like what is operations, I think that, that's also like a big word. But think of it as a way of anything that makes something work, whether that's a process, how you communicate, how you get something from, point A to point B, is operations. So definitely a wide scope, but a lot of fun.
Amazing. I love that. And probably a role that the young people watching have not heard of yet, because, like I said in the previous session, so many young people do think that the only job in fashion is fashion designer. So
Yeah.
here we have living proof that there is other things available. Okay, and we'd love to know about your career history. What were you like at school, and how did
Yeah.
you get your foot in the door of the fashion world?
Yeah, so at my school, we had I was really lucky to have a lot of these kind of applied sciences, they called them, right? Technology, food technology, textiles and design. And I found them so fascinating and so different from the normal, subjects of math and science and English and the lot. You could really, put your hands to work and create something. Back in the day, technology was creating how to use PowerPoint and how to create a document, which would be hard, I think, to imagine in schools now of that level of kind of technical learning. But textiles really just, transported me into a different world of being creative, yet learning at the same time, learning about fibers, techniques, the industry. And, in my personal life, I learned to sew from my grandmother at home and kind of bringing that to school. I couldn't believe I was able to do this at school. So, really enjoyed that experience and really had me thinking about, as you said, being a designer, because there was that assumption, or my understanding at the time was that was the only way you could be in the fashion industry. But actually, in reality, it's a lot more than that.
Absolutely. And so, what was your first job in the fashion world then?
I was a sales associate actually, which was a lot of fun. I was very young, and learned from these kind of seasoned retail professionals who were doing this, at a very, very high standard. And just learning more about product, being around product every day, having to kind of talk to clients or potential clients about what they might like really gets you close to obviously the front line of fashion and where it all kind of um, comes to the public and how most people interact with it, on an everyday basis. So a really, really, really fun career and kind of set my sights of falling in love with a brand and having a relationship with a brand and growing up from there.
Amazing. And I guess in retail, you do get a really good understanding of how the business of fashion works, you know? So did that inspire your desire to go kind of more, I guess, behind the scenes, not the fashion designer, get more into the business side of things?
It definitely exposed so many more things, right? As in retail, you kind of, you're in the beautiful store, you realize there's visual merchandising going on, there's, management tracks of the, teams and people, there's marketing, there's public relations, there's events, there's That's only, really on the frontline side. Then there's all the things around the back around sourcing and production and design and everything kind of in the supply chain before that. It took me a while actually to understand what that full scope of things is. It's hopefully you'll be providing some sort of look into that world and a little bit of shortcut for that understanding. But from my side, it took a few, I guess, internships and conversations to really understand that more. So, for example, I wanted to understand more about marketing, and I did an internship in public relations, which was a really, really amazing experience. But I realized I actually wanted to be on the marketing side of the public relationships, public relations side. Public relations was about events and speaking to magazines. I actually wanted to be even closer to the brand, talking about how we present ourselves, what language we use, what images we use. So, really starting to understand the nuance that even within a marketing function, there are multiple sub teams and multiple different things within there as well.
Absolutely. All of these kind of areas have so many facets to them, don't they? And there's
Yeah,
so many people behind the scenes that need to make
for
the whole
sure.
machine work. And so, how did you end up, I guess, realizing that operations was the thing that you wanted to do? And what skills do you think are useful in your role?
Yeah. It was a little bit of a kind of nice coincidence that there was an opportunity where they needed operational help, and I figured, well, there's no one else. I'll step in and do it, and ended up loving it. I think operations isn't always the first, for sure, is not the first, probably not even the fifth thing you think about when you think about what it takes to bring together an amazing fashion brand. But I really like understanding how things work, solving problems, reacting to different things that have happened. This might be around stock allocation. This might be around something that's been damaged. What do we do? This might be something around kind of a customer question or a customer complaint. How do you respond to that? I found all of this super, super interesting and really rewarding to be able to solve someone's problem, whether that was a business problem, a customer problem, a team problem. It was very rewarding for me to be that person to have the answers, or even if I didn't have the answer, go and find it, figure it out, and come back with the answer. Um, I think it's a great role for someone who finds themselves doing that in their regular life. This could be totally in your personal life, with your friends, in your family. If someone has a problem, do you tend to kind of, you know, discuss it more and you're on the people side of things, the emotion side of things? Are you jumping to solutions and thinking about how to fix it? You know, I encourage people to reflect on your own kind of style and what really gives you energy, and therefore how does that translate to something in the workforce? And that's how you'll find the right match.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there's lots of people watching who are like, oh, actually, that sounds like a little bit of me. And there's a new world of operations that's just been opened up to you. So that's so exciting. And so the businesses that you've worked for, I would not describe Wolf and Badger as a small company, but compared to some of the brands that you've worked for before, I would say it's a more boutique business. Let's name drop a couple of the brands that you've worked for in the past, yeah?
Yeah, so I was very, very lucky to work with Louis Vuitton early in my career, which obviously was the epitome of kind of luxury and perfection, and really taught me very early on around what it means to have quality and stand the highest standards. And even the pens they would use were a specific color, and just to understand that level of detail is what brings together this image and this prestige. Was very, very interesting. And I was very, very lucky to be even just a small part of that brand. And will, always respect them for what they do. Another brand I've worked for more recently during the COVID years was a brand named PANGAIA, a material sciences startup that had a really, really big boom. And Kylie Jenner and Justin Bieber and everyone was wearing the hoodies over the COVID period. And really, really amazing company with really top sustainable credentials as well. So a different angle to it again, but a really fun brand to work for as well.
Yeah, so those will be some very recognizable names, I imagine, to everyone today. And my question around that is, what is it like working, what's the difference, I suppose,
Yeah.
and what do you think is an environment that is most suited to, I guess, you and your
Yeah.
role?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a way, the way that those two companies, those two examples there, Louis Vuitton and PANGAIA operate is completely polar opposites. You think about the size of Louis Vuitton, the reputation. Not many people in the world who, haven't heard of that name or can recognize an emblem from them. And so the amount of people, resources, countries, levels of kind of control and standards that I mentioned before are super, super high, of the highest standard in the world. And so there's a lot of people and a lot of energy involved, and also a lot of rules, right? At a company like Pangaea, I joined when it was only, a few dozen people, very much at the beginning of its journey. A lot of the questions you might have don't have established answers. And so you're part of the team figuring out what to do next, how to evolve, how to do things. There's no manual necessarily for how to go. So again, super high standards, great image, great language, great culture all around. Um, but it's much more up for each individual to have an impact, let's say, at that size of business. So I do think there is something to be learned from both the small team and the large team. And I encourage everyone to reflect on that. And as you can, jump at any opportunity that you can, because it will eventually land you in a place where you know more about yourself and know what makes a really exciting environment for you.
100%. And I think that's one of the big things that we want people to take away from this week, is that you might know a couple of names in each industry, but those aren't the only people that you can work
Yeah,
for. And there are so many different businesses, and there's always something amazing to take away from whoever you work for. Um, okay, so in the final couple of minutes that we have, this is the advice question that I'm going to ask you. What is your top advice for young people watching if they want to get their foot in the door of the fashion industry?
sure. Mine might sound a bit more loose and not as practical as some of the others, but hopefully the Eric team will pass on really practical resources for you. But for mine is it's believe in yourself, have that confidence that, in any conversation, in any opportunity, in any first role that you're in, that you belong there, you have a right to be there, and you want to do your best every day and show up and really have that confidence in yourself. Another one is stay open to all of your options. As Sam just said, you might not have heard of a brand or of a company before you like dive into it more and understand if you like it. And just explore all options to an extent. You'll be totally surprised by what you find. And, in my example, I would never have told you that operations is my path. But it is, and I love it. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't stayed open to what was being presented to me. And then talk to as many people as you can about their role, about what they like, what they don't like, their advice for you. You don't have to take it all, but have as many conversations as you can. You can always learn something from them.
Amazing. Those are three fantastic pieces of advice. Thank you so much. And really quickly, where do you go get your news about the industry, in terms of, yeah, business and keep
Yeah.
up to date with what's going on?
Yeah, business of fashion, LinkedIn these days, social media, of course. Instagram is amazing at kind of pushing out new campaigns and new news around that stuff. So yeah, just following people that you really admire and their take on things.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. It's so great to have you here. That was a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed hearing all about your career background. Really, I love operations. I feel like I want to go get a job in operations now.
Let's go do it.
Thank you so much, Lillian. I will make you an attendee now.
No
And
worries.
thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sam. Bye.